You're driving home. You have your gun in the car. It's legal. You have a permit. You've done nothing wrong. Then you see the flashing lights. You pull over. The officer walks up. You hand over your license and your concealed carry permit. You think you're being responsible? Then everything goes wrong. The officer tells you to step out. Before you know it, you're in handcuffs, shoved in the back of a patrol car. You sit there for half an hour while officers tear your car apart. They search your glove box, your trunk, your personal belongings. You haven't committed a crime. You haven't threatened anyone. You just have a gun, and you told them about it. This happened to a man named Sukan in Connecticut. And it could happen to you. In this video, I'm breaking down what happened, why it was illegal, and what you need to know to protect yourself if you ever find yourself in this situation. Stick with me, and you'll walk away knowing your rights and exactly what to say. Before I break it down, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. You do not want to be searching for this video after you're already in handcuffs. Let's start with the case. The case is called Sukan v. Jizzy. It was decided by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers New York, Connecticut, and Vermont. This court is not known for being particularly pro-gun. They're the same court that upheld New York's restrictive carry laws before the Supreme Court struck them down in the Bruin case. But even this court said what the officer did was wrong. Here's what happened. Sukan was driving through Waterbury, Connecticut. He got pulled over in what police described as a high crime area. There's no evidence he was doing anything illegal. No speeding, no reckless driving, no broken taillights, just a routine stop. The officer, Andrew Jizzy, walked up to the window and asked for identification. Sukan handed over his driver's license and his valid concealed carry permit. He told the officer he had a firearm in the car and that he was legally permitted to carry it. That's when everything fell apart. According to court records, the officer immediately became agitated. He ordered Sukan out of the car, violently handcuffed him, shoved him in the back of a patrol car, and left him there for over 30 minutes. Then, without a warrant and without Sukan's consent, officers searched every inch of his vehicle. Let me ask you something. Does that sound reasonable to you? Sukan had a permit. He was honest. He told the officer about the gun up front. He wasn't threatening anyone. He wasn't reaching for anything. He was complying with every request, and he still ended up in handcuffs. Sukan sued the officer under federal civil rights law. He said his Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures had been violated. The officer claimed qualified immunity, which is a legal doctrine that protects government officials from lawsuits as long as they didn't violate clearly established rights. The trial court said no, the officer didn't have immunity. The officer appealed. The Second Circuit upheld the trial court's decision. So what does this mean for you? Let me break it down in plain English. There are different levels of police encounters, and each level requires a different amount of evidence to be legal. The first level is a consensual encounter. That's when an officer walks up to you and says, "Can I talk to you?" You can walk away. You don't have to answer questions. No evidence is required. The second level is a traffic stop. That requires what's called reasonable suspicion. That's more than a hunch, but less than probable cause. The officer needs specific, articulable facts that suggest you might be involved in criminal activity. The third level is an arrest. That requires probable cause. That means facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable person to believe, more likely than not, that a crime has been committed. Here's the key. When you're in handcuffs, shoved in the back of a patrol car, you're under arrest. It doesn't matter what the officer calls it. It doesn't matter if they say it's just a detention. When you're in cuffs, locked in a car, and not free to leave, you have been arrested. And that requires probable cause. In Sukan's case, what was the probable cause? The officer knew Sukan had a gun, but it was a legal gun. He had a permit. He had committed no crime. He wasn't threatening anyone. The officer had no reason to believe Sukan was involved in anything illegal. The court put it this way. The presence of a lawfully owned firearm disclosed voluntarily to an officer does not give an officer the right to handcuff you and search your car. The officer argued that he needed to detain Sukan for officer safety, but the court said that argument didn't hold up. Sukan was calm. He was cooperative. He didn't make any sudden movements. He didn't reach for anything. He was the model of compliance. The officer's reaction was completely out of proportion. This case also teaches us something about qualified immunity. A lot of people are confused about what qualified immunity means. It's not a free pass to violate rights. It protects officers who make reasonable mistakes. For example, if an officer arrests someone based on a law that later turns out to be unconstitutional, they might have qualified immunity. But if an officer violates a clearly established right, like the right to be free from unreasonable searches, they don't get immunity. The court said that Sukan's right to be free from a warrantless search of his vehicle and his right not to be arrested without probable cause are clearly established rights. A reasonable officer would know that handcuffing someone just for having a legal gun is wrong. The officer in this case didn't just make a mistake. He violated Sukan's constitutional rights. Now, I want you to understand something. This case doesn't mean you can't be searched if you have a gun. There are situations where police can search your car. but those situations have to be supported by law. Let's go through the legal ways an officer can search your vehicle. The first way is with a search warrant. A warrant has to be supported by probable cause and signed by a judge. The officer in Sukan's case didn't have a warrant. He didn't even try to get one. The second way is with your consent. If you say yes when an officer asks to search your car, you've given up your Fourth Amendment rights. That's why I always tell people, never consent to a search. You can say no. It doesn't make you look guilty. It means you know your rights. The third way is a search incident to a lawful arrest. If you've been arrested, the officer can search your vehicle for evidence related to the arrest. But in Sukan's case, the arrest wasn't lawful, so the search couldn't be justified that way. The fourth way is under the automobile exception. Under certain circumstances, if an officer has probable cause to believe there's evidence of a crime in your car, they can search it without a warrant. But again, that requires probable cause. And in Sukan's case, there was no probable cause. So, what does this mean for you? Let me give you some practical advice. First, if you're carrying a gun in your car, know your state's laws. Some states require you to inform officers that you're carrying, others don't. Know the rules where you live and where you travel. Second, if you're in a duty to inform state, tell the officer. Be calm, be clear. Say something like, "Officer, I want to let you know I'm licensed and carrying. My firearm is on my right hip. My hands are going to stay on the steering wheel." Third, don't consent to a search. If the officer asks if they can look in your car, say, "Officer, I do not consent to a search of my vehicle." Say it calmly and clearly. You're not being difficult. You're exercising a constitutional right. Fourth, if the officer orders you out of the car, comply. Don't argue. Don't resist. Get out slowly. Keep your hands visible. If you're carrying, don't reach for anything. Let the officer tell you what to do. Fifth, if the officer handcuffs you and puts you in a patrol car, remember, you're under arrest. It doesn't matter what they call it. And if you're under arrest without probable cause, your lawyer can challenge it later. Don't resist. Stay calm. Ask for a lawyer and say, "I'm exercising my right to remain silent. I want my attorney present." Sixth, document everything. If you have a dash cam, save the footage. If you have a phone, turn on the recording function. Get the officer's badge number and patrol car number. Your recording can be the evidence that protects you in court. Here's the bottom line. Having a gun doesn't make you a criminal. It doesn't give police the right to handcuff you and tear your car apart. The Supreme Court has been clear. Your Fourth Amendment rights protect you from unreasonable searches and seizures. And your Second Amendment right doesn't disappear the moment you step into a vehicle. But the courts will only protect your rights if you assert them. You have to know what to say. You have to know what not to say. That's why this video exists. Let me give you a quick summary of the key takeaways from this case. Number one, police cannot arrest you just because you have a gun, especially if you have a valid permit and you've been honest about it. Number two, if you're in handcuffs and locked in a patrol car, you're under arrest. That requires probable cause. Number three, consent is the easiest way for police to search your car. Never consent. Number four, qualified immunity doesn't protect officers who violate clearly established rights. If an officer violates your rights, you can sue them. Number five, the law is on your side, but you have to know it. Practice these phrases at home. Say them out loud. When you're on the side of the road with an officer asking about your firearm, you don't want to think. You want your mouth to know what to say automatically. And remember, none of this is legal advice for your specific situation. Laws vary by state. If you're ever charged with a crime, consult a local attorney who knows the judges and prosecutors in your area. If this video helped you understand your rights when police ask about your firearm, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an update. And drop a comment below. Have you ever had a police officer handcuff you just for having a gun? What happened? I read every comment, and I will see you in the next video.